Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jarvis.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're joined by a very special guest, Nick Wiger.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Nick.
Wow.
That's
You
a very
come to
elegant
us.
microphone raise.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Interesting. This is like the
I know what I'm
alternative
doing.
grip, like for ping pong players.
Yeah.
It's like in Marty Supreme where they're like, wait a minute, they use the pin hold grip in the East.
I defend with my left-hand katana, and then
Right. You actually do microphones akimbo. We had to ask you to
Yeah.
put down the second mic.
yeah, I used to be in 5'1".
You want to record in stereo?
I watched this medieval swords guy talking about why dual wielding is impractical, and I was like,
Is it Sellsword Arts?
I don't know the name of the YouTuber, but it was a thing where I was just like, man, you just suck the fun out of so many anime. I was just like,
Yeah.
I think whenever I watch something like that even slightly goes against just what I want. I
Right.
want it to be effective. My instinct that I always have to fight is like, nah, it's good.
No, I think
I don't know anything about it. Like,
Anakin could do it.
I could do it.
Yeah.
that guy's clearly never felt the joy of a perfect parry.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just
Like-
doesn't get it.
Well, he was saying you can dual wield like a small blade,
Right.
like in your offhand, but
Right.
two like full size doesn't make any sense. He was pointing out all the
I
disadvantages
want
of it.
two large reverse grip swords
Okay.
with no range. And I want to spin around like Taz.
Hear me out though. Okay. So I understand the issue with two large grip swords, but has he considered having them attach into a pole arm and then you can do all the pole arm stuff?
Pretty sick.
And then
Yeah.
killing Qui-Gon.
Right. I mean, look, maybe that's your agenda.
Something like that. No,
I, for one, am a fan.
You can do him.
But if you're fighting a guy with a pole arm, you're like, all right, I know how to deal with this. And then halfway through, he breaks it in half.
breaks it in half.
He's dual wielding. Like, what
Right.
the fuck?
Or like-
Art sold me this.
Or like there's that thing when someone has a pole arm in an anime or a show and then someone is fighting them with a sword and they cut it in half.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they think, I've got you now. And it's like, no, this was actually a feature, not a bug.
It's got to feel so unsatisfying when I eventually end up through just whatever like series of random events in a sword fight, and I don't even get close to hitting them. I
Right.
take a swing, the hilt detaches, the sword drops on the floor, and they shoot me to death.
I do think you would probably do something like take their sword, stab yourself with it, and then be like, you've defeated me, but my legacy will live on or something.
I don't know who you are.
I felt recently very silly because I just told you guys this, but I watched the two more recent Avatar movies, and it
Hell yeah.
did make me want to take a weapons combat class.
You want to ride a Tulkun?
Well, yeah, of course I do, but
Yeah, they have
What
that.
weapon specifically?
so they do a lot of bows,
Yeah.
which would be cool, but I think I'm a knife gal.
Varong kind of has the dual sights.
So
Yeah, that would
the
be really
Varong
cool.
stuff is very cool, and I know you're a fan of Varong.
Love Varong.
And maybe got some recent Varong ink.
If loving
into
wrong
it.
is wrong, then I don't want to be right.
I think did you get a tattoo on your arm of
I
Varong?
do have a Varong tattoo. I have
Whoa.
stiff shake on my left deltoid. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I think I'm the one here who has seen the least Avatar, and I feel a small amount of shame about that. But in my defense,
It's an intellectuals movie.
yeah, I don't have a high enough IQ to understand the
You're
humor.
like,
It
wait,
reminds
is
me
this
of Rick and
Earth?
Morty in that regard.
Yeah, same creator.
I don't like, okay, so my problem, here's what happened. I'm not a big weed guy. I'm not an edible guy, really. I just don't feel, I usually just get sleepy and don't feel amazing. And some people are like that. And I foolishly went to go see Way of Water with people who were like, hey, we're eating edibles before. And I was like, okay, I don't want to harsh the vibe. And so then I did that. And then the next thing I know, there's like a white kid with dreads and dolphins with subtitles on the screen.
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep.
That is a challenging format. I think we are both cursed with the why is weed good disease. And I don't think, as I say, it's an intellectual experience, you know.
Right. Well,
And
yeah. Also, my brain was,
It'd be really
in
hard
peak
to
form.
understand like what a big whale is all about. 'Cause they have a
Right.
greater capacity for empathy than humans.
Yeah, because
Pigskins, sorry.
PyAcon, for instance, is a a Tolkien who is forefronted, particularly in Way of Water, but PyAcon gets some screen time, a good amount in the most recent entry.
To seek redemption for his exile.
Exactly. He's been exiled for using violence against the interlocutors, but he has a like they have the Tolkien have a culture, right? They write songs. They have like committees that meet up.
They have
decide things
like a frustrating municipal process.
It does feel like
DNC.
the electoral college.
Yeah.
I'm actually a registered Tolkien voter. I'm with the TSA.
This does remind me of like going into like a druid circle or something in Baldur's Gate
As a rogue.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, I am curious how they do such good world building in a movie that is long, but like you would think
Jimbo's just
not
out of
long.
control,
Jimbo's
man.
just got it. He's just got it like
sick
that.
fuck.
He went down to the abyss.
He
and he
min-maxed
came
all-
back the master of water.
Yeah, he min-maxed all of his skills out of like social capacity and ability to communicate with actors and put it into being wet and making movies.
What people like Titanic's filming. I was watching this guy, I want to say his name is Joey Engelman. His YouTube channel where he does these like videos about I actually do want to give him a shout out. Let me double check that that's his name. I know Engelman's his last name.
There is a Joey Engelman on YouTube.
Does he have a video called like, oh yeah, let's go.
Oh,
All right. But I was watching this Joey Engelman.
Very funny thumbnails. Holy crap.
Yeah, he's awesome. Because he doesn't post a lot, and then he just drops these 40-minute videos that are like movie production disasters iceberg explained. And there's one about Titanic, and about how a bunch of people got sick? ? Filming. I didn't realize that there was so
big
much
crash.
movies with the most latex feet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The most.
So I first
An hour and 10 minutes.
I first found him through the TV shows canceled after one episode, Iceberg, and that was a really good one.
Okay.
Or movies that should not exist. There's a lot of good stuff.
Have your eyes been drawn to Win Kidney or Die?
The most unethical TV show ever made. Look at
That's
that.
pretty bad.
That does sound bad.
Cool looking kid though.
How did he count these latex feet? How did he index
Is
that?
it an hour and 10 of him going?
Well, I don't
1,
think he
2.
counted them. I do think much like I feel like they're relying on a third party,
Sure.
like some sort of adjudicating body of feet counters.
Yeah, is there a third?
Did you guys know that 50 plus people were hospitalized after eating clam chowder that was laced with PCP
What?
during the production of Titanic?
Was Jimmy just
Why
being
was it
cheeky?
late?
Who
or-
did that?
I don't know. I don't
Billy's
fully
in.
understand.
100. I can't change my mind.
But it was
Let's
also
do it.
like it was in Nova
He's evil.
Scotia.
He's evil because he's bald.
And then Kate Winslet also got pneumonia. And James Cameron had a near fatal subdive accident. So there was
That
a lot of
seems
crazy.
normal for him.
Yeah, that does seem pretty tame.
Man, near fatal subdive, because that's like one of the things I feel like you super die in or you are
Right.
completely fine. But you
Well,
put a
that's
bit
why
of water in.
that's why he became Ocean Jesus, because he actually survived when everyone else failed.
It was out of resentment.
But then he seemed like kind of smug about those guys getting imploded.
I mean, it's one of the funniest clips
so,
in
okay,
history.
I'll
of him
defend-
just being like, I wouldn't have did it like that.
Well, I will defend him on that point because that guy was smug as
He
hell.
was
Right, right.
an idiot, but
he
it
was
is-
also like a mega nepo baby.
Yeah, he was like money.
What was his name?
Wow.
It was like Tank LeMarchelon or something.
it was like Chardry McHowlston.
Is it something Rush? Stockton Rush.
Stockton Rush, yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Bringing it back to Avatar, it's revealed that the Giovanni Ribisi character is a nepo baby in
Yes.
Avatar: Fire and Ash, which is very much like James Cameron. You're conscious of the moment right now. Everyone hates nepo babies.
I mean, the fact that he it genuinely made me laugh out loud in the theater and then realized that like nobody was really fucking with it as much, but was the idea that every time that you see the respawned Marines, they bring them back in Avatar bodies if they died. They rebuild them with the same like Halo Marine tattoos and Ed Hardy t-shirts. The clothes they give them are exactly the like tier 1 operator online poster like training for the physical fitness exam for ice, like exact same build.
3D print some Oakleys from the 1990s.
That's proportionally fit to their giant
right.
Oh my god, that stuff rocks.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's actually a good movie and movies.
Yeah, they're good movies.
I mean, everyone says this.
Though Avatar 1, I never connected with me that
Well,
much.
so okay, here's my question. When you saw Avatar 1, and we all saw it, and we were like, okay, cool.
We're like, I'm gonna
Hell
kill
yeah.
myself because I can't live in
I was
Pandora.
like, no.
You weren't into it. You said this is basically Fern Gully.
I did say that.
Yeah, it's classic Anastasia moment.
I was also going within the same week, less than a week between them. I saw Werner Herzog's Cave of Forgotten Dreams, which was
Okay.
also in 3D.
Werner Herzog is also in the movie Production Disasters Iceberg for the movie he made where they were dragging the ship.
Oh yeah. That's a classic bad idea.
Classic Werner Herzog getting into some stuff.
Yeah.
And he tried to
It was
steal
like-
that Baby Yoda too. That's pretty messed up.
I want to see the baby. I liked the 3D better in the Cave of Forgotten Dreams. And for some reason I was comparing those two films in my mind, which like they're so different. I shouldn't have but I was being a little bit of a snob.
That
as well.
is like a classic Anastasia thing.
Jake Sully's not even
Where
in
it's
that
like,
movie.
why were you comparing the? It's like I saw the like Hey Arnold movie, and I thought, how does this compare to?
This is not Kino.
Yeah, interesting. This really doesn't matching up to Humphrey Bogart's performance in Casablanca.
I have been known to be a bit of a snob.
Hey, and we love you for it.
Okay, thank you.
Never change.
What are you most snobbish about? Is it film?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think movies. But I have a very eclectic taste in movies because like
You have an
I
eclectic life.
I love comedies. I love like really low budget stuff. I'm like very eclectic in life, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my
Are
god, you're bowing.
Are you?
You're applauding yourself.
Okay, I've never asked you this question directly, but something you talk about a lot in passing that you enjoy. Are you snobby about French fries?
Oh,
You do like French fries.
I do like French fries, and
As
I
a
am snobby about
vegetarian,
them.
it's one of the only
Yeah.
good foods you're allowed to eat.
When I was a kid, because I became vegetarian when I was 10 years old. And so my mom was like really mad at me and my sister for being vegetarian. She was like, I'm not cooking for you. She thought that would work in us deciding to eat meat again. And it didn't. It just made us get fries for dinner. And we would eat. At the time, Long John Silver's had something called Fries for Four, and we called it Fries for Four for One because we would each get one and then have a variety of dipping sauces, and that was like dinner.
The food
for
groups.
us.
Right, the food. It's like you have a multicolored plate by virtue of the sauces that you're putting the Frenches
I
into.
love Greek restaurant French fries. They're so
Yeah, they are
good. They
good.
salt and pepper them and double fry them. So
Yeah.
like the pepper is like fried into them.
Oh, that's actually
it's amazing.
They
is good.
figured out oil. They go
Yeah.
sicko mode on oil and it works every time.
Nick, you might be
Yeah.
You're a
You're a professional fry
Expert.
guy.
I'm a bit of a fry guy. I will
on
say
fast
that.
food.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for crinkle cut. And which I know is controversial, and some people don't like the form factor. But for me, I grew up with my beloved Del Taco, and which is a Mexican restaurant that has fries, which as a kid blew my mind. But like I really like their crinkle cut fries, and Shake Shack kind of has a simulacrum of them that's also pretty good. It's just Shake Shack was using. They use frozen potatoes. They switched to fresh potatoes at a certain point, and everyone was like, "Fuck this!" Like the customers
interesting.
complain, like we want the frozen
Yeah,
processed
yeah.
version.
Can I ask you,
Yeah.
from your position of authority as a fry guy,
Yeah.
what is, I suppose, two questions. One, is the form factor what makes crinkle cuts better? Because they have a unique fluffiness that I feel like is pretty much unique, like across
Yeah.
the board.
I mean, it's of course a factor because it just affects the surface ratio and you know, the amount of crispness it can have. So yeah, I think that's, but also these things are very subjective. Like there are people who
Right.
like hate steak fries
I
because
was
they're
gonna
too
say,
mushy.
I was
That's
going to
dark.
say that steak fries and crinkle cut fries occupy the space of there's a lot of potato in there
Yeah.
that if not cooked with the proper care you can get like the really chalky ones
It's a greater
or
risk.
it can be too mushy. I feel like you need to be an adept fryer of fries to
A fry guy.
properly fry both of those two fries.
For sure. And one thing I will say about like a place like Raising Cane's, which I'm like, well, okay on Raising Cane's. I feel everything's under seasoned, but they.
Except for the bread. I feel like the bread is over seasoned.
The bread is over seasoned somehow.
That's where all it went.
Yeah. But they like, that's a place where all they do is use that deep fryer. And so they know what they're doing. So you're going to get a good fry on them fries.
Yeah.
So you have a podcast about chain restaurants.
Right.
Do you think there is a chain restaurant that does French fries the best?
So, I mean, an answer other than McDonald's, which is the,
McDonald's
whatever.
does. Sorry to interject. McDonald's, if you eat the fries like within, I don't know, 15 minutes out of the fryer, I feel like they're perfect.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's a steep drop off over time because I can't go back to a McDonald's fry.
I'd posit the same about Shake Shack.
Yeah, I mean,
the Shake
it's
Shack
true.
Fry lifeline is very slim.
It's true
the
about
shelf
a
life
lot of
is
fries, though. Like
short.
In-N-Out.
Right.
Like that's
No, they're
a
bad
lot
the
of
whole
people.
time.
In-N-Out.
How dare you?
I was going to say In-N-Out definitely gets a bad rap for their fries. And I don't, there's a reason why. I think it's something that they do, but I don't know what it is that they do special to their fries that people don't like.
They started cooking them poorly and making them not good.
They're fresh potatoes,
So
right?
they do use fresh potatoes. So
Yeah.
that's part of it. They are very
Disgusting.
potato-y.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I get that the fries are polarizing. Like, I don't really, I will defend their burgers, but if someone's like, I don't like the fries, I'm like, yeah, of course, that's fine.
The
I grew up
fries
with
are
them.
the place where I didn't initially like them. I grew to like them.
Right.
As I became a California resident.
You developed some cultural affection that maybe me as a contrarian needs to learn to
My
do as
gut
well.
biome adapted.
Well, that might be my problem.
Yeah.
So an answer other than McDonald's, which I had McDonald's fries last night, I would go with Outback Steakhouse. I think their fries are actually quite solid.
Jacob's chiming in.
Yeah, I mean, their fries are really good.
Yeah.
I haven't had Outback, I don't think, ever in my life.
Does it have a stronger cultural presence where you're from? Is
No,
that
I
right too?
didn't have it until I moved to LA.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know we had an Outback here, so maybe I'll have to try it. Do you have a take on speaking of Outback and these like fast, I guess, what do you call it, fast casual?
That
Or
one is,
like
like,
those,
sit down.
that mid-rangey type, like sit down, but still like not super fancy schmancy. Chili's has had a huge resurgence recently, and partly due to their marketing to like Gen Z and stuff. Do you have a take on the resurgence of some of these types of restaurants?
Yeah, Chili's more of a sit down place, but like my understanding is that Chili's has really been conscious of their social media strategy, and so
definitely.
they leaned into things. They're like, okay, these influencers are doing something with our Nashville mozzarella sticks. They're doing cheese pulls. We'll just lean into it, and we'll do that with our own social media as well. And so we went to the Chili's where they shoot all of their social media content for their own channel.
Oh, they're certain set for
exactly, and it's just like the platonic ideal of a Chili's.
Right.
But it was hopping on a weeknight.
I've seen a lot of like economists talk about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's like we aren't in the best of times economically, despite what some people in power may say, and there is a recession indicator, and a lot of people in Gen Z who are like, I want to eat out, but everything's gotten more expensive. Chili's is like, we see you, we're gonna drop the prices, we're gonna have like a fun social media campaign, try to meet people where they are, and it seems like it's like their stock has been not investment advice, but their stock has been hopping.
I wonder if part of it is, if you're in like maybe your late teens, early 20s, you had such an anarchic sort of childhood where you were just like going to restaurants during your formative years was like not even an option. You know what I mean? Like, and so maybe there's the novelty of it of like, oh wow, I can go out with my friends and have some drinks. What a notion.
Did you have like when you're in high school, like a haunt that was like, oh, this is the place that we're hanging out?
We used to go to like I don't know if Coco's still exists. I think it doesn't, but we used to go to Anastasia's nodding. We used to go to like a Coco's.
It doesn't exist.
Oh, you're
I'm
nodding to
agreeing
say
that it doesn't.
It is completely been
You're
eliminated.
nodding to death.
Yeah.
That's right.
Caro's another one of those that kind of quietly closed over the past few years that used to be everywhere. But they're like it's more of like a bakery, like what people would call a coffee shop before Starbucks, where you sit down, you get breakfast. It's like Denny's is the closest analog.
This episode of Sad Boys is sponsored by ZocDoc.
Life can feel like a great big puzzle sometimes. You're always trying to fit those annoying pieces together. Your career,
your passions, your relationships, your finances, and, of course, your healthcare.
But finding care shouldn't be the trickiest piece of the puzzle. ZocDoc makes it easy to find and book an appointment with a doctor that fits your needs.
ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love.
Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, skincare, over 200 plus specialties offered on ZocDoc, you can search by specialty or symptom and build the right care team for you.
Want to see your doctor in person? Great. Prefer a video visit? You can do that too.
View thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Maybe they hate small talk as much as you do. Maybe you have some shared interests. You can feel confident that you found a doctor that fits your fancy.
And when you're ready, you can see their real-time actual availability and click to book instantly. No phone tag, no waiting around.
And when you get that appointment, they typically happen fast, between 24 to 72 hours usually, and you can even get same-day appointments.
So stop putting off those pesky doctor's appointments and head on over to ZocDoc.com/sadboys to find and instantly book a visit today.
And that's ZocDoc.com/sadboys, ZocDoc.com/sadboys.
Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this episode.
Mine in high school was Moe's.
Moe's.
Because, and Moe's is like Chipotle.
Oh, okay.
It's like almost identical, like it's a direct competitor, but just in fewer markets. And it kind of lost the war.
This is in Florida.
It is in Florida, but Moe's was also in Georgia. It's along the East Coast. Like we had one near my college
around?
campus.
Or went the way of a Coco's?
No, it's still around, but
It's like a Southeast Chipotle, basically. It's really very regional.
regional.
Yeah.
Like and Chipotle was a tier above. It like was a pinky. Chipotle was like pinkies up when I was in high school. Like it was fancier. And so Moe's was like down to earth for like the high school kids. Chipotle was like, whoa. I didn't know you must have gotten a job where you have some extra cash.
Sure.
Even though I don't even think the prices were that different.
Moe's, I believe, is an acronym, and I don't remember what it stands for, but it's like something like musicians, something and entertainers or whatever. It's like a weird, like the guy who made it kind of had a artist sort
and
of.
They also had a cool
idea.
thing that it was in all the commercials where when you walk in, they say, okay, so if you go to Japan and you walk into a restaurant, or even if you go to a Japanese restaurant in some parts of LA, you'll get arashimase, which is like welcome.
Wagwan.
And Moe's, when you walk in, they go, welcome to Moe's. They just go, welcome to Moe's.
That's cool.
Everyone yells it. Wait,
I
can we go on YouTube and type in welcome to Moe's?
This popular, quick casual neighborhood restaurant has one of the most highly differentiated menus in its
The
category.
Homewrecker.
With
One of them's
a
called the
wide
Homewrecker.
variety
Those were
of
still
options
the
to meet
names
distinct
when I was there.
cross-generational
Cool.
tastes.
You've been there.
I've been there. Yeah, I went in Atlanta.
A guy
The extra
reading a
ingredient
newspaper
behind
at Moe's.
incredible
That's good optics right
popularity
there.
is its spicy attitude. From the fun and welcoming atmosphere.
I wonder. Oh, Atlanta. Hey, welcome to Moe's.
Entree
We had
names.
one like so I went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and it's like we had one in Tech Square that was like right off of campus or kind of connected to campus. So I would go there quite a lot.
You guys think it's a
Good times.
difficult sell to kind of pitch? I mean, I don't know. Let's say, I feel like Zoomers is becoming too ubiquitous a term, but like, let's say somebody who had a bunch of their formative years defined by lockdown, and then also majority of their kind of like presence in the world being online, or a lot of their education in the world being online. Do you think it's difficult to even pitch the appeal of going to a sit-down restaurant?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, because it might just be a foreign concept, and it's
seems
like why would I do that when I can order something off of my phone that will come to my door and I can be on Instagram the whole time?
I agree with that.
It's a single screen,
And I also
Right.
live that. Like that's a pitch that appeals to me. Why would I leave? But I do think that there's kind of a rejection of that now, and people are starting to like venture out into the world.
I think there's young people who, didn't get the chance to socialize in high school and stuff because of lockdown that are now like, this is a novel thing, going to Chili's.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I could go to Chili's with my friends. Like I did that when I was a kid, going to a cafe. We each order coffee and one basket of fries and sit there for like 3 hours. But now kids get to do
Other
that.
the lifestyle defined by these fries, huh? It's 5 different dipping sauces.
I love to dip. I do have to say, if my food can be a vehicle for 5 different dipping sauces, I love that
Very
food.
Greek of you. Very Greek behavior.
Hey, what can I say?
Gotcha.
Speaking of food, and also speaking of something we mentioned before the show, which is sleep, of which I didn't get a lot of last night.
Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. I'm strong. I'm brave.
He's crying.
And you can't see it actually because
okay.
my tears are transparent. Thank you very much.
Good life hack.
Yeah, it's a whole thing I engineered. But I tried to go to bed early last night. My plan was I'm going to go to bed early. I drank like a little like sleepy time tea type thing that had like L-theanine and all the stuff that's supposed to help you sleep.
Sleep juice.
And I felt sleepy. Like it was like, oh, here it comes. Here comes the sleep. I like put everything away. I like gently laid myself down to bed, and then boom, wide awake again. And I was like, maybe I should eat something and that'll put me to sleep. And what I chose to eat was, as maybe a part of research for having you on, Nick, was Taco Bell.
Hell yeah.
Ordered Taco Bell last night. Thing that blows my mind, you're talking about Del Taco having fries. Taco Bell has chicken nuggets now?
They do.
Bold.
And that's interesting. Have you tried them, Jacob?
Yeah.
Jacob's not a fan.
The times that I've had them, they were really dry.
Yeah.
But you know what is good? Speaking of fries, nacho fries.
The nacho fries are good. I agree with you on the nugs, which I've had, and they were doing tendies, I believe, for a time as well. And I don't feel like either of them really hit the mark.
Yeah.
They also were like putting them inside of tortillas and making tacos and burritos out of them.
Is it I have been dabbling in the cantina wrap, I think.
Oh,
which
there you
maybe
go.
is the dipper some way.
It's like the upscale, because they have the Taco Bell Cantina, which is their like fancy schmancy you can drink, and it's like a sit down restaurant activation.
That's my go-to dinner before I go to the Egyptian theater.
We had one in
Wow.
San Francisco, in downtown. I used to walk past it when I was living in Soma because when I worked at Yelp, I would walk back to my apartment and I would pass the Taco Bell Cantina and people would be like whining and dining at Taco Bell.
I don't think I had the social cachet to be let in.
Yeah, it is. There's like a whole password. You have to like. There's a big bouncer at the door.
Please, sir. Just one nuggie, please. Hey, not with those shoes.
Yeah, you have to wear
out of
dress
town.
shoes to get in.
Where are you from? And they did a thing where they started adding the cantina, like
I
more
see, yeah.
upscale elements to the menu because they're saying, hey, you know how our food is like shit? Well, this stuff actually isn't. So
This one has a
try this
whole
out.
different name.
But it's like, but I like whatever stuff they're putting in regular Taco Bell. So I wasn't asking any questions, but they were like, if you're health conscious or if you're like, you want fancier food, you can try the cantina
But
stuff.
you're just trying to go to sleep.
I was just trying to go to sleep. So I was trying to put myself to bed with a chalupa. I got to sleep eventually.
That's true. And it was after having Taco Bell.
I didn't like the nuggets either.
I feel like eating before bed, it keeps me awake.
I used to. It's not as bad these days, but I used to not be able to sleep on an empty stomach. Like
Yeah.
it would just be
Hungry.
so.
Oh, wow.
So I know it sucked because I would need like to drink or do something. I think a hot beverage would help, but yeah, it's awful. So sometimes I do still have that reaction where I'm like, well, I can't sleep. Maybe my stomach will chill out if I eat
mentioned
something.
before the show that you're also a bad sleep bastard.
I do have bad sleep. Real quick on that. When I was really broke in my early 20s, and I'd get hungry at night, I would just go to bed like hungry.
Dude, sleep for dinner?
But I could sleep exactly. Yeah,
Sleep for dinner
I'd call it
is very
dessert. But yes, I've had sleep problems for many years. I started getting insomnia in my as a teenager, and the thing that I don't have it fully under control. But it's gotten much more manageable. A big part of it is like light therapy, which I'm sure you have at some point experimented with. But like people make fun of me when they see me doing it. But like I will put on sunglasses or blue light blocking glasses an hour before bedtime.
Yeah.
And because it's so hard to just completely avoid screens.
Right.
And I mostly am trying to avoid it. I'm mostly just like reading a book or whatever the fuck. But it's like you still find yourself like looking at a text or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And But then also, this is the big thing, and I got this from a book called Hello Sleep that I really enjoyed and I found illuminating, that came out a couple years ago. I wake up at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And that becomes, some days you're going to be tired because I'm like, I was out till 2 a.m. and my wake time is 7 a.m. So I'm going to be tired the next day, but it means that I can still get to sleep at the same time that night, so I don't lose my rhythm.
Yeah, in the times that I've had better sleep, that was definitely a part of the equation. I don't know what destabilized me this time. It was like a American foreign intervention in my sleep that destabilized the incumbent government.
We are looking
my
for
circadian rhythms.
We're looking for justifications, but the truth is that it was
they were there for oil.
It was jacked up,
Unfortunately, they were mining the oil in
They're
my
saying
mind.
it.
My big thing, and this is an old guy thing, is like I have to get up to pee every night now, and that's just like that. Like I used to have uninterrupted sleep, and but now I'm just like, all of a sudden it's 3 a.m. I was like, I got to take a whiz, and then for whatever reason I'm awake for 90 minutes.
I might be out of my mind. I love a night piss. I think.
Interesting.
It's kind of like it's an intermission in a long movie.
You're also you've also been the traditionally the
piss bastard.
Oh, I was gonna say the bad sleep bastard.
Yeah, I think in when I was maybe 13, I just insomnia just forever, and then I kind of just adapted to like having always being pretty underslept, and then in my mid-20s, I finally ended up with a medication that kind of helped with it, and it was a revelation in like, oh, this is what everybody else has been getting. Yeah, this like ability to wake up less tired than when you went to bed, like waking up and feeling less bad. Instead, it was just kind of this. I ended up in a loop a lot in my early 20s, and actually, I guess late 20s as well. Whenever things would be kind of turbulent, if I was in the UK and the time difference was different and whatever, it would usually be I don't know, 2 nights a week I wouldn't sleep probably for like a couple of years. And
that's wild.
That just like broke my brain.
Yeah.
And, maybe one of those I then go to sleep at like 3 p.m. on that day but the waking up consistently thing is really hard because the medication I take now, that is just coincidentally very drowsy, but as a result, I take it in the evening and it helps with that. If I don't, horrible itchiness all night, just impossible to sleep even if I get to sleep. And if I do, 10 hours of sleep. Can't do less. If I don't go to bed at 10 p.m., I am waking up so fucking
So there's a sleep study thing that came out recently about how long you need to sleep for. And one of the things that they were measuring was people's ability to like perform at certain tasks given how much sleep they had. And people who it was like there was like an 8-hour group and a 6-hour group, and the 6-hour group essentially like stopped being tired when they woke up after consistently getting 6 hours, but were performing more poorly on cognitive like tests.
Wow.
And we'll link it in the thing because there is a study. But what it's not like I think they have to do more continued studies, but basically it's like your body gets used to sleeping less, but it's hiding the cognitive impairment from you. So a lot of people who think they don't need as much sleep have really just convinced themselves or convinced their body that they don't.
Like night owls,
right? But actually, you're like operating at like a lower capacity, which is interesting to me because I always want to be operating at maximum capacity.
I think maybe the last couple of years have maybe confirmed that podcasting is not one of those cognitive tests because it appears to be working. But imagine the show I'd be on if I was sleeping. Oh my goodness, the kind of jokes I would be. I mean, I can probably figure out a really good joke right now.
Yeah, you would be able to do that if you had some extra sleep. Now I'm noticing, dude, this is what happened to my goat, dude. He used to be in his prime.
Give me just like a prompt.
His head used to go above the rim when he dunked.
Could you just give me a prompt, just like
banana peel?
Not that one, better one. Funnier one.
Clown.
Imagine a sad one.
I'm laughing.
Okay,
that's
no,
absurd.
for sure. Yeah.
Imagine like
a twisted one with like a worldview that was like embracing chaos for its own sake or something.
I do like the
I'm a
idea of
little
an
unsettled.
improviser who goes on stage, asks for things, says no, and then leaves.
I wanted to do a Joker thing and none of you helped.
Wow, you guys suck. All right, anyway, that was my time.
You do one.
So going back to sleep. Night. My therapist, my old therapist, got something in my head which I found very helpful because I have sleepless nights, but what I'm more likely for me is like at night where I'd get like 2 or 3 hours of sleep,
Right.
And I'm barely functional the next day. But he was like, just internalize that you've had sleepless nights before. You've had nights when you've gotten bad sleep before. And on the other side of it, you've been okay. You've been able to function. You've been able to do your job. You've been able to stay safe and feed yourself or whatever. So like when that is most reassuring for me is when I'm having trouble falling asleep. And I just remind myself like, you know what? If I don't fall asleep, it's fine because I'll be okay.
Because then you don't have the performance anxiety. If I need to get to bed or else.
And then that actually turns off my OCD brain.
Yeah.
And I'm more likely to fall asleep once I acknowledge that. So
Is that like a
that is
general
helpful.
impulse? Is feel free if it's too personal, no worries. But like from a mental health stage, are you kind of a ruminator? You are
100%. And this is a thing that because I got an OCD diagnosis officially only this past year, which I've been dealing with generalized anxiety and depression for a long time, off and on, but it felt like finally getting at the root cause of this kind of constant rumination that I sometimes get into, these looping thoughts.
Yeah, congrats feels weird. But
OCD.
congrats on the clarity, right?
It's been
changes anything, you know.
Thank you. It is very helpful to have it identified at least. You know?
We both were diagnosed with ADHD like very late in life, and it was another one of those illuminating things where it's like, oh, okay, well now that I have a name to this, I can start to address it appropriately.
Yeah, now that you know he was a ghost the whole time,
right?
You get
it's
to
like,
kind of rewatch the
before that, it's like, and before that, it's just like very this nondescript. I'm a little weird.
Yeah, it's just a Jordanism.
Yeah,
being
he's such a
extremely
wacky
unreliable.
guy. Yeah,
being late to everything and extremely unreliable.
Have there been again? By the way, if it's too personal, no need to respond. But have there been any like changes now that you've made post diagnosis, post having that clarity?
This is a great question. I mean, like a big thing is, so when you start ruminating, and I'm sure you all have experienced this, when you start getting into, you're thinking the same things, a lot of the tools you're more likely to use, the compulsions to break yourself out of it, which can be, the most known are like motor compulsions, so like whatever, like I scratch my face. That's one thing I do.
Yeah.
But also there are mental compulsions, which are things like, I was like, I can't believe I did that. I was so stupid. Why did I say that?
Right.
Reassurance is a mental compulsion when you start being like, it's okay, it's going to be fine, they'll forget about it. What you're actually doing is strengthening the obsessive thought. Or if you're rationalizing it and you're like, well, you didn't know it was going to offend this person, so it's, like how could you have known at the time? You thought it was an innocuous comment. Again, that's strengthening it. So instead you just kind of have to let it sit there, which is uncomfortable, but it actually does make the loops go away. If you just sort of like I'm having an obsessive thought, and that's basically label it and leave it alone.
Oh, it's
That's
like
really interesting.
inflammation.
Yeah,
like
right,
it's like you want to touch it and try and like reduce the wound, but every time you do, the blood starts to flow a little faster.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I definitely am one of those like rationalizers when I do. I don't think, I mean, I'm always open to being diagnosed with something new, but I do ruminate sometimes, especially like at night. And I try to rationalize those things away because I know that they're irrational, but I do think that labeling it and leaving it alone, it is, very uncomfortable, but that's super interesting.
You do have the instinct to facts and logic to battle.
That's like, cause that's my only tool.
Yeah.
Right. It's like facts and law. It's like, that's my blade, that I have.
But you can't defeat you.
Yeah.
It's the shadow self.
It's the shadow self. It's the dark link.
But this does tie back into sleep because and also just like in terms of sleep hygiene, another thing I do is I don't have my phone at my bedside. It actually never goes into our bedroom, and so
Anastasia's been doing that recently.
That's great because
hers is just too big.
Yeah, it can't
it doesn't fit
through the door.
It's an enormous phone. You have a king size phone and a queen size mattress.
Exactly.
This is like an SNL sketch with Justin Timberlake. I think, isn't he in a Bring It On Down to something, Bill? Something.
like if you have time where you just go to your default state where you're just letting yourself think as opposed to being distracted by a device, that's healthy for your brain, and you're doing the sort of normal social organizing that needs to happen, where you're just like you're having the kind of thoughts that a lot of times if you're just looking at screens all day or you're just interacting with people, you're just busying and distracting yourself. All those thoughts come racing to you at once when your head hits the pillow. And it's like, oh, this is the one time I've actually just been alone with my brain all day.
Right.
And it's when I most need to turn it off. And it's just really tricky. So like, having those moments earlier in the day does seem to help.
You notice the tinnitus more at night kind of sensation.
For sure.
Too,
Yeah.
I have like a lot of like vocal stimming that I'll do if I don't have a phone or anything, and it just feels like another way to distract myself.
Like if you're walking around the house.
Yeah, if I'm walking around, or if I'm like, let's say I'm walking home and my phone's dead or something, I will just like start humming or something to myself, and I'm like, damn, I really can't. Like, the compulsion is to like just avoid sitting with my thoughts.
I mean, I've been resistant to meditation my whole life until about a year ago because I didn't want to be with my thoughts, and now I force myself to practice it. It's really, really hard, and I don't enjoy it, and I don't want to do it. But
Sold.
It's one of those things that like
It also
I have
hurts physically.
It's bad, don't do it.
I have to do it because otherwise I don't sleep, and I have like anytime I'm alone with my thoughts, it's the worst stuff in my brain.
It's like nails on a chalkboard.
I think if I'm walking around the house looking for, like, I'm sure people can attest to this. If I'm just walking around the house and I can't find what, like, I may not have even had an objective or whatever I was doing, but I'll instantly code switch back to super middle Englandy. I'll just be walking around. I'll go to the fridge, open it up, walk over to the dishes, but they're done. I'll just go, what am I doing? What is going on? And I won't even think about it. I'll go, who cares? Because I never was there for anything. I'm not hungry or thirsty. What else was I going to find in there? It's kind of, it's like
It's like you fight a quest.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm grinding like goblin kills or whatever, and I can't find any more. So I'm like, I'll check the inventory. And look at.
You give your sim a task and then they cancels it, so they end up just standing there by the fridge.
Yeah.
Now what?
I do sometimes feel like
Let's
a
delete the
sim.
door and see what happens.
Speaking of things I wish were a simulation, Elon is in the Epstein files. Sorry, how was that transition, Anastasia?
Beautiful. I loved it.
Really smooth.
You hear about these files?
Yeah, but this stuff's all over the news.
I, for one, am a
better
big
ones?
fan. I'm a big fan of files. You know, I'm a computer guy.
Love to read.
These bad files. Not good at all.
This will ruin files for
Normally
you,
I hear about
honestly.
files and I'm like, hell yeah, files.
Guy that loves data.
Elon is like doth protest too much, you know, like because he was like, we didn't grab these, but there's all these quotes of Elon before it was revealed that he was in the Epstein files, where he's like,
yuck.
He's like, Trump's in the Epstein files. That's why they don't want them
Pretty
released.
embarrassing.
Like Epstein, that guy begged me to go on his island, and I said, no, Mr. Epstein.
Please, sir, please. You're like the Tony Stark of the modern day.
Yeah.
I said, no, you're a pervert.
I feel a dark energy emanating from you.
I'm playing Path of Exile.
I'm protected by the light. And by I mean a man in China is playing Path of Exile.
Oh, yeah, big.
And that's not racist. That's just a fact.
It's just a thing he did.
Oh yeah, time to drop the really big bomb. This is such a like Redditor core.
Yeah.
Like, okay, bro, you didn't need to.
Thanks for the gold.
I'm about to alt. Yeah, here goes nothing. That's what he says before, you know, like before an ultimate attack, you have like a cut scene.
Oh, it's
like, now it's time for my big attack. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been public. Have a nice day, DJT. This was in the like moment during Doge when he was like beefing with
They're
Trump.
having a messy breakup.
They were having a messy breakup. And
then Trump was just like, babe, you're like you're the only one. And then he deleted all of it.
Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. So that's when we marked it because we follow everything Elon says.
Yeah, and then he deleted it. So it was a good job we marked it.
And then the a tranche of is just a word only used to refer to the Epstein files. A tranche of Epstein files were released, and Elon, of course, is in the emails.
I just don't. Here's the thing, right? Like, it's like, if a friend of mine is like hosting a surprise party or something, I will avoid even mentioning a party, anything. I'll avoid everything because I am concerned that I will slip up and ruin it. If I was in pervert documents, I don't trust myself enough to like be cautious. Just don't talk about it at all. Like, don't bring it up ever. Don't even talk about Epstein. Be bold enough to be like, yeah, release those things that I'm in. Bet you won't. What?
Yeah. All of the Epstein emails are like subject line perversion. And then it's like such a nasty little life we lead, winky face.
His email address is really funny too.
Wait,
JEE vacation.
Can we just look at today's news on X, the Everything app, where it says Epstein documents release spark redaction questions. Normal headline. Epstein's bran muffin recipe sparks baking tests and backlash.
Okay.
And then it's another normal one. Bran muffin recipe.
That sneaks in at 5,700 posts, and the others are 700.
That clearly isn't. Dude, this website does not work. Okay, so
why is he putting that in his files?
That's what I say. I love when it's like when they did the Bin Laden raid, and then afterwards in the files they had a bunch of like he actually had some hentai in there.
Yeah. It's like he's got an Animal Crossing save file. and yes, it's probably his kids, but let us imagine. Okay?
Right, sure.
Like it's I don't know if any reason to have photos of Avril Lavigne on your computer is reasonable, quite frankly. I think whatever it was is an interesting subject point. Why that's not in Zero Dark 30, I'll never forgive Bigelow for that.
Yeah. They should have walked in on him playing Animal Crossing.
He's practicing wave dashes
Look,
in Melee.
Tom Nook has gotten people to do some pretty radical stuff. So
I needed the bells. JEvacation@gmail.com. Why does he not have his own domain?
He just loves Gmail.
Oh, fair enough.
How many people will you be for the heli to island? Probably just Tallulah and me. What day/night will be the wildest party on your island?
That's really embarrassing.
It is really embarrassing.
Which day will have the most swag?
Right.
There's another email where he talks about being in St. Bart's or whatever.
So it's the basic code that he's just like actively begging to come to the pervert island?
Well, so yeah, it basically like he's saying, oh, me and my wife are in town for, or not in town. They were like in the area because they were on St. Bart's. And then they were like, oh, we're nearby. And you're like the Mr. Party. Can we come do the partying?
Please. What are they telling each other if it's not, hey, this is a pervert island? Like, how did you find out about it if you're not talking about the pervert island?
Well, maybe, you know how they always talk about like a lot of the Epstein emails are like, what are you getting up to this weekend? And then there's a bunch of stuff in the files from this about like literal trafficking where it's just like, hey, send me these passports. This person wants to model, like, blah, blah, blah. And then Kimball Musk is in the files. And there's a lot of actually Elon's brother emails where it's like scheduling between him and, you know, one of the girls that's being organized by like a assistant. It's disgusting.
There's a Simpsons episode with a house of burlesque, and then there's at a certain point a photograph of various men from the town, photographs of men from the town.
Oh, like Matt Quimby and stuff.
Yeah. And there's a Seymour Skinner, the principal. Skinner's defense is, I was only going there to ask for directions for how to get away from there. It sort of feels like Elon Musk's explanations are doing.
Yeah, I will say
that. Where would I go there? It's illegal.
So I want to know where it was so my plane would never accidentally fly over it.
I went to stand there and shake my head.
So at least the one that we saw and then one where they confirmed they're in St. Bart's and there's like a timestamp. Vivian, friend of the show, Elon's daughter, confirmed that they were in St. Bart's at the time specified in the emails.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, at least lie where you go. It's so strange to me.
Well,
Maybe it's just money breaks your brain or something.
But there's an Elon tweet about what the quote unquote left does, which is deny everything, admit nothing.
I have been doing that.
And it's like, it's very much like what he's doing. Nobody has fought harder for the full release of the Epstein files and prosecutions of those who abused children more than I did, knowing full well that the legacy media, far left propagandists, and those who are actually guilty would admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations against me. This is a guy who made a Twitter account impersonating his own child. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, that was bold.
I knew that I would be smeared relentlessly, despite never having attended his parties or been on his plane or set foot on his creepy island or done anything wrong at all. That last part is like, or done anything wrong at all.
I've literally never done anything.
I was like, you can't say that, because like there's like, he's so many lawsuits. There's like, there's lawsuits about racism in Tesla factories. There's like sexual harassment lawsuits about him promising a horse and exposing himself to a woman on a plane.
Well, he didn't do it because he's never done anything wrong at all.
Things.
Even putting the name of the plane and like whatever the hell they're calling it.
Well, yeah, why
I
would
don't
he
even know the name of it.
Why would he use its full government name?
It's so called.
Is it Jeffrey, you said? Who? Who's Two-Rump? I don't know.
I'm, of course, cynical about those in power, but the Epstein files, which, of course, have been released only in part and heavily redacted. All the worst stuff is under lock and key still, but it's like that has just made it laid it bare that we are, under the thumb of a cabal of stateless pedophiles. It's just like, what a fucking world this is.
With like the only major defense them having is, oh my God, why do you keep talking about that?
One of the crazy things about the redactions is that a lot of them don't make any sense. So it feels like they were just redacting stuff to redact it. Like there are a lot of instances in the files where we have multiple versions. So you have like some of the redactions not there, or some of the things in the files were already released to the public, yet when they've redacted them, they've like covered stuff up, and it's like, oh, we know who that is. So then you can start to use logic. Like there's a few instances where Jeffrey Epstein's name himself is redacted in the Epstein files, which is like, weird.
This could be anyone.
Or a lot of the
with his face and body.
A lot of the redactions are like protecting people who are very clearly co-conspirators.
Yeah, it's
or I guess would allegedly be co-conspirators who are in emails like planning stuff with.
It's like obscuring only Prince Andrew's ankles or something.
Yeah.
And then, who knows?
The Prince Andrew stuff is
He
so
doesn't sweat.
disgusting. Well, I mean, there was like new photos.
Yeah, really
in
wild.
They're so disgusting.
I think one of the it is interesting seeing the inverse effect of like forced weaponized incompetence that the instrumental authoritarian bootstrap strongmen in positions of power have just kind of been like disseminating for a while. The government just screws everything up. Can you really trust them? Almost like reverse agitative propaganda to why push for change or over intellectualize stuff. You know what the government is like. Let's not focus on that. Let's just keep the midterms where they are. Blah, blah, blah. It is interesting seeing the actual seeds of the incompetence that they made on purpose just do a really bad job for them.
Yeah.
And now they're like, can you redact certain stuff? And they're like, okay, well, your entire team of surveyors they're all 15 years old, and you've given them like $80 million a year.
Yeah, you gave like a bunch of like tweeny boppers, like top security, like top secret clearance.
They're like, what the hell is going on?
Speaking of like poor redactions, one of his like burner emails, they left in the files and left the password in. And so people like logged into the email and like started like mucking up the place.
They got into his Neopets.
One of the craziest things is like the alleged blackmail of Bill Gates.
Yeah, that's it.
Have you seen this?
No, I just saw that his wife was fully like, the reason I divorced him is because of Epstein.
So, and she was like hinting at that, like when they first like separated, because there was this weird kind of haze around Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. But in these emails, there was a exchange, I believe, in which Jeffrey sent it to himself. Yeah, in the email draft, it's like he alleges that Bill Gates got a STD from like one of the illicit encounters with, one of the trafficked people by Epstein, and then found out too late about it, and then may have passed it to his wife.
And then panically, tears in his eyes, emailing Elon.
And then he's trying to get, not Elon,
He was doing something else.
Trying to get ways to slip medication for the STD to his wife without her knowledge. I'm like, of course she's going to want to divorce him over this.
Bro,
It's like insane. Like, because
no
one
paragraph
random
breaks, huh?
piece of lore is that in like 2020 or 2021, Bill Gates' team reached out to us to do an interview with him.
Wow.
And at the time, I felt like a conspiracy theorist because like I was a little tech nerd, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. But then at the same time, I was like, I think that there's something with it was like there wasn't a lot of information about the Epstein files, and I was like, I don't feel good about this.
What is this for?
And also, I don't gain any. Like, it's not
Right.
actually a good strategic decision for me. So we didn't do it, and it is the best professional decision I've ever made.
Plus, it sounded like they were very controlling. They were like, you can't. It was gonna be a PR thing for.
It was
them,
like for a book
you know?
he was doing about the pandemic or pandemics in general. But then he also did shit with like the AstraZeneca vaccine and like was weirdly like gatekeeping. Like for someone who like cares so much allegedly about public health, it like seemed to be caring a lot more about like IP of like vaccines and stuff. It was like stuff was getting weird around him.
He also, I mean, I don't know if he did it directly, but at one point in time, Steam made me change my username from Bill Gates is getting divorced to something else. And I can't help but think maybe he had something to do with that.
Did you see the Xbox Live stuff?
Oh yeah, Epstein got banned from Xbox Live.
Oh, that's right. And then had a tantrum to Bobby Kotick, but I didn't read that. I avoided it because I also thought that'd be interesting.
And there's a lot of things that, again, there's so much circumstantial stuff that you can't really, say for certain. And then there's also a lot of claims in the files that are raw, like claims that were sent into the FBI that hadn't been corroborated and stuff. But there are some interesting things, like Christopher Poole, the founder of 4chan, I think there's like a alleged intro that happens and between Epstein and him, and then the poll, like the political subforum on 4chan, people are now positing that it was like a Jepstein, Jeffrey Epstein, like
That's his
psyop
code name.
thing.
No one knows who it is.
Because there is also stuff with like Peter Thiel. I don't know if Peter Thiel is ever mentioned in the files, but he has like all kinds of crazy opinions about like the world. He's like a weird, like, I don't even know what you would call him, like anarcho fascist,
acceleration,
like
right.
AI accelerationist, but also he like wanted to build like cities on the ocean.
Yeah, he's trying to build Night City.
In the cities he wants to build are dictatorships, like basically run cities like companies. Like he's invested in a bunch of things like that. He also
and he's literally doing cyberpunk.
He also, it's like he is like a financier of JD Vance, and JD Vance is somewhat of alleged puppet of
Just
his.
a handful of some of the most normal guys.
Yeah.
It's just like we're not even getting the fun part of cyberpunk.
No.
It's just the dystopia.
Yeah, we don't even get a gun with a big thing on it.
No, it just as an upward transfer of wealth. The formatting of this email is driving me crazy. Again, as someone with recently diagnosed OCD, that you could be this powerful and write an email with this like spelling and grammar this bad, with spacing this anarchic,
And you're famous for creating a computer with a word processor in it.
It is.
Maybe he made it on a typewriter.
This is Epstein's email.
This is Epstein. What I assume.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he has like he's borderline illiterate. Like
I assume he wrote this with his eyes closed on a BlackBerry with thick leather gloves.
It looks like copy pasta you'd see on like our gaming circles.
yeah. This is
It's
like
a green
SCP
text,
lore.
like 4chan post.
This is the email that if you read it 3 times, your legs come off.
Yeah. So anyway, who knew the billionaire's not so nice?
It seems that way now, as as a staunch capitalist.
Yes.
You're of the position that this is actually propaganda.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these people are better than us. That's why they have more, money than us.
Because it's a meritocracy.
Yeah, it's full meritocracy. No,
We will be them.
It's next man up mentality. I will get to be a billionaire when my number comes in.
If I'm nice enough, they have to leave it to someone.
Yeah, and if I don't, it's a moral failing of mine. They still don't know how he has his money. Like, where did he get his money? No one's explained that.
Right. It is in all we know is increasing information about how unlikely it is that his money comes from him being good at finance.
Right.
It's like,
which means nothing, because like ultimately it's like being a financier is the like it is a money organizer and distributor,
But as far as just like, it's like if I just say I'm a martial artist, and you're like, "Whoa, which one? Fighting?"
It reminds me
Just
of
do
when
fighting.
Dan Bilzerian came out of relative obscurity and had $50 million that he said he won playing poker. And then
Yeah.
professional poker players analyzed every game that had ever been like on screen. And it was like, this guy's terrible at poker. And he's like, no, well, I play high stakes poker games with like pro athletes and super rich people that can just afford to lose tons of money. And then you find out that his dad was being sanctioned by the SEC, like left the country, and coincidentally, the $50 million that he owed the Securities and Exchange Commission goes missing.
This is so weird, dude. Went to poker.
Yeah.
Pretty good hustle though to be publicly bad at poker, so that you can show your poker genius behind
Exactly.
closed doors. These
Dude.
high rollers.
The stone-faced genius.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
that's also happened with the NBA gambling scandal.
Oh yeah, I love that.
where all of the pro poker players who are finding out about these high stakes games were like, none of this makes sense because these guys aren't making sensible poker moves, yet they're winning it, and they can't get lucky this many times in a row.
Oh, wait, so how did this?
So
These guys basically had like X-ray glasses, like
X-ray glasses, X-ray contacts,
Yeah.
X-ray poker tables. They had a rigged shuffler.
The players. These
So
are like
so essentially, it was like the mob plus a few former, well, now former NBA coach and former NBA players were kind of like this famous player. Who was it? It was
well, Chauncey Billups was
Chauncey
one of them.
Billups.
But it was like come to this game.
Yeah,
and you
come
get
to
to
this
play
game.
With the,
You get to play
this
with the-
guy.
yeah.
And they're like, oh,
and
cool. how
Terry
about that?
Rozier.
Terry
Rozier,
Rozier.
yeah.
Terry Rozier was just reinstated. His salary. He like won his appeal, and the NBA is going to pay him his salary out, which is interesting.
Wow.
Wow, how about that?
come play in this reflective surface room.
Yeah, kind of.
We play by touch.
And yeah, so it'd be like, come play with Chauncey Billups, this like in the grand scheme of things, C-level celebrity in professional sports. No offense, Chauncey, I guess, but
he's very good at basketball. But, you know.
but then and in the high, like Vegas and like high stakes poker communities, I guess these games happen, and people were like, oh, a lot of people see it as like an easy opportunity to win some money from people who are like worse at poker than them. And then suspicious things started happening. And then poker players who lost money were very like, this is suspicious. I like wouldn't trust this. And then of course, like the reality comes out where it's like, if you Google, Jacob, if you Google rigged shuffler NBA, there is a like poker shuffler that is commonly used. It's called like Deckmate 2 or something. And they modded it where that you could set the order of the cards. Like,
Oh, well, fuck.
Wow.
and so it was essentially a stacked deck, but the shuffler looks like the legit shuffler.
Dude, we're gonna
Yeah,
need a
it's like-
Deckmate 3 at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so complicated.
Well, this is because the shuffler itself is like a beautiful piece of machinery. They just took off the casing and like modded it.
that's so many bits.
Yeah, so this isn't a soft mod. This is a hardware mod.
This is a hardware
You
mod.
need to
This
do some
is
soldering here.
yeah. This is a little bit of soldering necessary.
The cheetah's view is really funny.
And,
Oh, that's
and so in
awesome.
some instances, it would be like the contacts would allow you to see like markings on the backs of cards, and then the poker table X-ray would let you see, whatever. There's just so many different ways that they were cheating.
Is the idea that, because maybe I'm just like being naive, I guess, but this isn't like, regardless of the tier that you're playing at, you have like obscene wealth, right? Like on really any NBA contract.
Mm-hmm.
Is this pitched in the same way that like some celebrities get like roped into NFT thing or a coin rug pull where their management or people around them are just like, you should just do this, it makes money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the sort of thing where the payday for the amount of labor involved is just worth it, even to someone who made millions
Yeah.
playing in the NBA. It's just like,
Yeah.
wait, I can go make $250,000 for one night to sit with some rich guys. Sure, I'll do that.
And the
These special
NBA
glasses.
players and just professional athletes love to gamble anyway, or they'll like gamble on the team playing and stuff. And sometimes people gamble for very little amounts of money, but it does kind of start to escalate.
It's like one of those
Jordan
things where I'm
famously
like,
loved to gamble.
Right.
yeah, log me up.
Not you.
I'm terrified of it. I hate gambling.
Michael
It freaks me out,
Michael
dude.
Jordan.
I'm bad at it. I know you can't necessarily be good or bad at much of gambling, but
Oh,
I
you
think I'm
can't.
abnormally bad at it.
I think I'm bad at it because I am averse to risk.
So you're good at gambling.
Well, I guess so, but I don't win big because I'm not willing to put a lot on the line.
Right.
No, I think you're a coward, and I think that's really virtuous in a way.
What's your game?
Well, nothing because
Nothing. Okay.
I mean,
One of the best.
In my opinion, the most fun game in Vegas is craps because or roulette, I guess, but craps more so because you get everyone
the whole
in on
table
it.
pops
Right.
and like
Speaking of craps, Donald Trump shit himself.
Okay,
And we
the
all
student
won.
has become the master. With normally, I'm the one doing the segues, but
I just
The master,
we can
huh?
continue on this.
that's the way you perceived your segues in the past.
yeah, I used to think of myself.
Black belt.
We can continue. I just did want to call out that I don't know if we will even end up showing the clip on the show because of how disgusting it
Can
might be.
I sent Jacob a Instagram reel that shows it, but also gives context from someone who works with dementia patients and patients who
Sorry,
have had
I was just
strokes.
about it. Now, if you zoom in here, you can tell he sharted himself.
It gives
Kind
context.
of is what he's doing.
I do. Have you been privy to this clip at all?
No, I had heard this. I didn't know there was video evidence.
So I sent it to Jordan, or I sent it to everyone yesterday, and Jordan was mad that the algorithm failed him.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like not
Did
being
you
online
know
is
that
fucking me up.
Mike McDaniel is the this guy's the former coach of the Miami Dolphins? Is this guy's profile picture for some reason?
Oh.
Why?
Oh, and he's called Epstein.
I don't know.
Epstein. Epstein crisis.
He's going to be the new OC of the Chargers, so I'm kind of stoked about that.
Epistemic
Cool.
crisis. That big word I don't know.
You Chargers fan?
Not really. I'm like a newer NFL fan in general.
That's why I'm like I watched the NFL and then I ignored it for like a decade.
Yes.
And growing up in Southern California, we didn't have a team for
Right.
most of my life.
Now you got too many of
Now
them.
we get the Rams and the Chargers, and I'm like, it feels like the Rams are too good, and I'm already like a shithead Lakers fan, and then also the Dodgers are such a juggernaut that
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
I can't have a third team that is potentially going to compete for
I
championships
like the
consistently.
idea of becoming a Chargers fan
Me too,
because
yeah.
I like Justin Herbert a lot, and it's very interesting. They've got character because you can tell that there's potential, but then because things could actually be quite good if they protect Justin Herbert.
I also have the appeal of like they're kind of a cursed franchise
Yeah.
that doesn't have they're clearly the number 2 behind the Rams in the city. So why not?
I think that I also watched the NFL a decade or more ago because I used to watch because I grew up in college town. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, and was a big like Florida Gators fan, and then I would follow college athletes when they graduated. And that was really the only thing I knew about the NFL. So it'd be like Tim Tebow went to the Denver Broncos, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'll watch the Broncos. And Phillip Rivers was playing in San Diego for the Chargers, and I, for some reason, I listened to a Lost podcast, and they were fans of the San Diego Chargers, and so I became like a satellite fan of them as well. So if I guess as far as teams I have an affinity for go, the Chargers are up there.
Hold up, I say.
I feel like as a SoCal native, you're so flush with college football allegiances a little bit.
Sort of. I mean, but this is the thing. Like, we were a UCLA household, and UCLA's football program was not like USC is just historically so much better, and that's the rival. So it's just kind of like, we'll follow basketball.
The Bruins, Trojans.
Bruins and Trojans, yeah.
Hey, look at you.
I was a tailgater via my first friends in America. Cole used to take me to tailgates.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Thanksgiving
How
stuff.
fun is that?
And the first, I got to tell you, man, people trying to the most fun thing about moving to really anywhere, but especially another country, is people having to like explain things from base principles. Where you're just like, so what side's the seat on in the car? And they're just like, well, it's on this side, and I guess you use. Which hand would I change gears? It's like fun to watch people kind of like start from like zygote, like build you up.
No, this is a ball. You ever seen one of these?
I'm like, why is it like rounded? What the fuck? But I had a really good experience of having different members of the same family trying to explain what a tailgate was from base principles.
Wow.
Because initially it would be like, well, you like a football game.
I'm like, oh, in the arena? No. We're like, so you watch it at home? It's like the Super Bowl or something? Like, no.
I don't really know how to describe a tailgate.
You go outside and drink.
It's like, when the game's like happening and you're like kind of there, and you're like
but it's usually before the game, right? You go and you barbecue in the parking lot with your friends and family and maybe toss a football around.
Yeah, to practice for the game.
and then you
guys need me.
You might go to the game, so you might tailgate,
but you might not.
You might not,
right. And you might just listen on the radio while you eat a hot dog.
We were watching on like a little a dentist office style little 5-4,
like up at the perfect angle for if you're lying straight back
for Seinfeld.
All right, let's watch Trump shit himself. And depending on how nasty this is, we may not show or let you hear this.
It's not too nasty, I don't think.
I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care, treating geriatric patients with dementia and incontinence of bowel, like that guy.
Are coming up with new opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's good. No, I hear fantastic things. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Oz. He's doing a fantastic job. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Mr. President, can you respond to the new Fox poll that says people think ICE is attacking?
And they are swiftly wafted away, you could say.
So, like, you can't really hear much except a tiny little.
Listen closely to just after.
Oh yeah, listen closely to just after.
Right after Trump says, "I'm hearing fantastic things." You can hear sharks right in those spots.
Me too.
Also, the White House aides are panicking to get the press out.
This guy, instead of sharts, he said Hegseths.
Whoa,
that's an epic burn on Pete Hegseth.
That's bullying. I won't stand for
that. Epistemic crisis.
I really did think it said Epstein crisis for a long time, and I feel bad.
For a long time, for years.
Yeah, I'm happy you, dude. I'll follow you again.
Keep playing for a minute.
Yeah. Now I do want to hear the slowdown.
Now, I got sent this video a ton after it started to go viral, saying Trump soiled himself on the couch on Fox News, but I'm pretty sure that's been edited with AI. People kept sending me this most recent clip, and I actually took a second to listen to the audio. Brother, I keep thinking of the tent peg. You know what I mean? Also, why was Harold Bornstein his personal physician for years when Bornstein was a gastroenterologist, not a primary doctor? Why would you seek out the care of a gastroenterologist like that unless your primary concerns, medically speaking, were bowel incontinence? And the second that Bornstein let it slip that Trump uses Propecia to fight hair loss, Trump sent the chief White House counsel and the guy who was nicknamed Wet Wipes from the set of The Apprentice down to Bornstein's office to grab all of Trump's medical records. Oh, and Trump has yet to take legal action against Noel Kasler, who worked on the set of The Apprentice and spilled all the tea about Trump sharding himself on a regular basis.
Yeah, they started, I could be wrong, I believe they started habitually calling The Apprentice the shit show because it happened so frequently. This could have been an opportunity for him to humanize himself.
By the way, epistemology is like theory of knowledge.
I mean, this is what I would expect as far as bowel control goes for a 78-year-old man whose diet consists solely of fillet of fishes. It's just like
a beige diet exclusively.
He eats like shit, and he doesn't seem to treat his body well at all, and he's old as fuck.
And that's and to be honest, it's inspiring to me because I don't eat the best, and he lived for a long time. And continues to live to this day, allegedly.
And he refuses to exercise because that drains the battery.
That's right, yeah. His micromorts will run out if he doesn't. His mana will be low.
Oh my god, dude! I wonder what a micromort analysis on like an Alex Honnold would be. Because like all of the stuff he does, I feel like he's he's past expected value of death.
Yeah, he's reaching the end game.
This creator also made a video saying, like, the signs of stroke and saying Trump has probably had at least one stroke.
It's just like not at that exceptional a claim, but it's like he's operating on plot armor rules where it's like, no, I couldn't. I'm the main guy.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen to me.
It just makes me like, not to be ageist, but why, if we have an age minimum for president, why don't we have an age maximum?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, also like I was thinking of like Congress term limits and things like that. Like
because I feel like
should be with 40.
Like we know that Reagan had dementia,
Yes.
or Alzheimer's. One
Not
or the
even
other.
denied. It's like just the thing that,
And he was running our country and making decisions. I mean, you know,
the stuff with Biden is even more recent, but
yeah.
With the diagnoses around that, a lot of the time you have to get a new driver's license. Why the hell are you allowed to like have municipal control over literally anything?
Have the nuclear codes.
I don't know. It's so strange.
You could do something like, and this will never happen because we have a gerontocracy. But if there was like you paid the maximum age you could have for taking office at for a first or a subsequent term as the retirement age, and then it was just like I don't know if that was just codified. I feel like you'd have a younger. More vigorous Congress and White House.
A virile Congress.
Yeah. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
A nubile Congress.
No, but I do think there is something to like being relevant and understanding what your constituency wants, right? Because like Nancy Pelosi is clearly not.
Also the difficulty of, it's just like, no, just everything you said, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't think I should be. I'm not in a position where I should be able to make authoritative claims about how schools should be run because I haven't been in school for a really fucking long time.
It also like incentivizes not the lack of change because when you're an incumbent and if it's a two-party system and you want to retain power, then all of the inertia is going to be behind the incumbent from the establishment, regardless of like their bona fides, like regardless of their accomplishments, because if they can get reelected and it's a shorter path to reelection, then they can remain in power rather than having to run a whole new candidate, fight a whole new race. But then it just consolidates power in like the same old heads.
I thought about voting for someone else, but then I remembered that he is the president, so he doesn't have to like move or anything.
I think, all that said, I do think it's important to remember that Trump shitting himself is very funny.
Yes. It's beautiful, honestly. It's like a sunset.
Wait.
There's no intellectualize it, but the heart.
Have you guys ever shit yourself?
Yeah.
Because I have.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
of course. All the time.
I was in the Peace Corps. I had really bad food poisoning.
Poop Corps.
I bent down to pick something up, shit my pants. And it was fucking funny. No one was around, thank God. But I was just like, this is hilarious. Like it's like panicking, but then you're like, this is great.
There was a cutoff point in maybe the last few years where I had to my pride and my desire to eat whatever I want officially was like it was in a proxy war with my international bowel syndrome. And I now officially, I think the Cold War escalated to the point where we had to just make a peace treaty and say, okay, I guess I just don't have Chick-fil-A anymore. I guess that just isn't a part of my life.
Wow.
And I have to move on. But
I'm sorry for your loss.
Saluting In and Out as I complain about their fries. And
also, I'm trying to find a Trump may have allegedly been shitting here clip that I thought I bookmarked.
That's such a funny sentence.
But in the meantime,
this is work.
Sam Altman is who's always been beefing with Elon, said, "I'm excited to get Elon under oath in April." Smiley face. And I'm like, I don't know what lawsuit's going on, but that ought to be interesting.
It was like
I went to Sundance last weekend, saw some movies.
Congrats on the nomination, by the way. Weirdest movie watcher.
Everyone voted. It was unanimous. They were like, "Get this gal out of here."
Freak moving.
No, but it was really fun. But I saw this documentary called The AI Doc, and then there's a colon and a subtitle. I think it's like How I Became a Apocalyptimist or something like that. It's a bad title, in my opinion. But it was an interesting documentary because this guy had access to like everyone who works in AI. Like not everyone because Mark Zuckerberg didn't agree to an interview, but Sam Altman was there. Demis, what's his name?
Who?
Demis.
Did you
obey?
No.
Wait.
Kevin Porter.
What do they do? What are they?
So it was like DeepSeek,
Chinese.
Open AI, not DeepSeek.
American.
Get access to the Chinese.
It's the Google one.
Oh,
DeepMind.
Gemini. Oh.
DeepMind?
DeepMind, yeah. I think. So you're talking about
all these
Sundar,
CEOs.
Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO?
No. He had all these CEOs on there and had the chance. I mean, maybe he didn't have the chance. Maybe they were like, I'll only talk to you if you ask these questions or like give me the questions in advance.
It's like a Bill Gates situation.
Introverts.
But it was an interesting documentary because he also had all of the AI watchdogs, like the people who are kind of like saying bad stuff is coming. And I thought those people were much more interesting. And Sam Altman was on there and he just was kind of like, yeah, things could go really bad, but we're doing our best to not make it that way.
But the promise of $1 trillion is so much more enticing than the end of civilization. So.
Right.
There's a good amount of risk
Between
here.
a rock and a hard place.
There's a lot of risk here, but what if you could like remake Friends and you're all the characters?
But they would say like well, in the future, we'll just have so much abundance because AI is going to solve the power
that's the
problem.
Elon line too.
And so your kid won't have to work. The next generation is going to be a painter on the coast of Greece or whatever. And it's like
when Tesla shareholders greenlit his $1 trillion pay package, which is a real thing that happened recently. And of course, he has to like reach a whole bunch of milestones in order to get access to all of that money, but it's a pay package that's more money than Tesla has ever made in its entire history. He, in the PR for it, he started doing in the future, money's not even going to matter.
Right.
Yeah. Now that I've got $1 trillion, like who even needs cash?
Dude, why do you guys keep talking about this?
Yeah, like
I'll
I
give
don't
you
even.
some money.
This $1 trillion is just a formality.
The company you were thinking of is Anthropic.
No, well, they were on there as well, but I'm thinking of Demis Hassabis. He's the CEO of DeepMind Technologies.
Did DeepMind spin out of Google?
It did.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's still in it.
It's almost like there's like too great a surplus of this product that's not nearly as necessary.
Well, it's the modern gold rush, and the gold is plagiarism.
Yeah, it really is just a bunch of people. They're just mining rocks. I just feel like
it's like it's laundering plagiarism to where the everyman doesn't know that it's plagiarized.
But you can look like a Ghibli character.
Oh dude, where do I sign?
Dude, you
cool.
could remake the whole Scooby-Doo gang, but it's your family and you can do a jib
It's like you and your yearbook photo. It's like, yeah, but I have a yearbook photo. Well,
imagine
there's another one. Yeah.
Imagine you graduated.
That'll be $90, please. So that's enough of like feel bad stories. Let's check out a feel bad story to wrap things up.
A bad person story.
This is like the most evil person ever hired a cleaner. Jigsaw hired cleaners.
So this note says, to our cleaner, we hid 100 mini ducks around the apartment. We do this to ensure a job well done. Please leave all ducks in this jar. S and J.
They said fucking wait, what are the things in Breath of the Wild?
Oh, the Koroks.
Yeah, they gave them the Korok fetch quest. The ducks go. Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, even the game doesn't make you get all of them.
The game literally says this is too tedious. It is not required. We do not expect people to get all 900 of these or whatever.
It's signed by Nintendo.
Also, you set this whole shit up and couldn't print a note. They were like, I'll handwrite the fucking post-it.
Wafts away.
Well, they think they're being cute.
Right.
Is that
which is the most evil people do?
Yeah.
Who posted this?
The cleaner.
The cleaner did. Okay.
So she's showing where the ducks are hidden.
Oh my god.
Behind the spout.
You could have hiding these ducks. You could have fucking cleaned yourself.
Yeah.
You'd vacuum that up. I feel like.
I think the thing that was on my mind as I was watching this is I think a lot of people have a strange relationship and expectation of cleaning, like cleaners.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people expect to pay very little and everything to be like deep cleaned and spotless.
Like every nook and cranny is.
Yeah. And it's like, just like everything else, there is a level of like, you get what you literally are paying for.
It feels like another example of someone wanting to lord power over someone else and using this as a vector of that. Because like you see it with gig economy stuff where it's like, oh wow, I guess I'm not leaving you a tip because you didn't follow I said do 10 jumping jacks when you drop off the pizza or whatever.
This work must not be valuable because it's cheap.
Yeah,
not like they're underpaid.
Not like they're underpaid. Not like it's a weird entitlement. I genuinely can't understand placing the 100 ducks. That seems like so much work.
Yeah, that's more
and
work
what
for you.
What does the duck mean in the plant? Are you cleaning the dirt?
Right.
Are you cleaning the soil?
This plant is filthy.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
So the next TikTok is the cleaner quitting.
Oh, good.
Like I know some cleaners will do like varying rates. So it's like this amount for just a regular clean, this amount for like a deep clean, or this amount for like a you're moving out kind of clean.
At any percent versus 100%.
I just don't think you're not in the position to decide what the job is worth because you're not in the market.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can find another cleaner if you want, but like haggling someone, it feels so gross to me. I don't know.
It reminds me of my stepdad who used to, he doesn't do this anymore, thank God. He used to do the thing where he's like, here's the tip you're going to get to a server. Here's the tip you're going to get if you do a good job. And it's like a $5 bill. And it's like, that's not enough.
I got a shiny Lincoln for you.
Would he line the ones up and then take them away for a mistake?
Oh,
no, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Wait, that's real?
Yeah, there's some nightmare people who do that.
That's taking up so much of the table.
That is truly like, I'm a little king.
Right.
Yeah.
Fauntleroy behavior.
Let's see if you can follow all of my rules.
It's like, leave.
Yeah.
Leave the Outback Steakhouse. It's really not worth it. You don't get an onion or whatever.
Feel like something where you're, we were talking about this before. It's like you have a tiny amount of power and you're just trying your darndest to like exert that power as best you can.
Is there like something, maybe it's just like being too like internet poisoned or something? I feel like that couple is doing that to post it also.
Maybe.
But like, because a number of times we'll just like on this show or just in general come across something online that's like, they have a reverse ethical relationship with the world, not even politically, but just someone who's like, has anybody ever noticed that you're not allowed to kiss your Uber driver, whatever you want? Or like, wait, but that just seems obviously wrong. And then they'll proudly post it with,
here's me shaming my Instacart driver.
I think
other
there's
side
some.
of that is I could see this being something they learned on TikTok.
Yeah, that's true.
They
from
saw
one
a
of those-
TikTok that's like a cute way to make sure your cleaner does her
Unethical life hacks.
and then that person who posted that has never actually done it.
Yeah.
They're just coming up with content.
That would be psychotic.
Yeah. And then they saw it on TikTok and were like, we should do that. But so the cleaner emailed, hi, blank, after finding the note and the ducks today, I want to end the contract. I'm here to do my job professionally, not to play games or be tested.
Yeah.
If there's a lack of trust in my work, that's totally your choice. But in that case, it's best you find someone else to clean for you.
Yeah, good for them.
And then the people said,
oh, they responded?
Yeah. You can't talk to me like that. I'm calling the police.
oh, okay, I honestly thought it would be fun and lighthearted. Just a joke the hubby and I picked up. That's what makes me think it.
Sure, yeah.
Wait, what was the side of? Sorry, so you go and all that? Oh, it was all the best.
All the best.
Sorry, so you go, whatever. Fucking scum.
That's so.
But just like another example of people like devaluing service workers.
This is interesting because one interesting thing about this to me is that it took two people. They put their heads together and both were like, "Yeah, I'll sign off on this."
This would be fun for our cleaner.
Yeah, it reminds me of we used to have a trash saga on this podcast where it was like I would keep finding myself in conflicts related to shared trash bins in my apartment. And one time my neighbors, I was out of town and didn't bring in the bins or something. And they wrote me a passive aggressive letter about how if I don't think I can handle the responsibility of like bringing in the bins, then we shouldn't share bins or something like that. And I thought it was like so weak that like two people put their head together. The best thing they could do was like a passive aggressive note.
Yeah.
And then continued to like leave clothes in our shared laundry. And like once we
waiting for the note, bro.
I wrote like with my, I with my therapist as my anger translator, wrote them a very nice letter that actually was like a diss track, but like in nice words. And we separated our bins, and then I took a photo every single time they used my bins in case they ever came at me again. It never happened, thankfully, but I was like, I can't believe the gall.
Have you ever been a note leaver?
No, I don't leave notes. I was, though, a third party in a note back and forth once. Ooh. So there was a car that was, it was one of those things where there were 3 spaces clearly on the street, and someone had parked in a way where there were only going to be 2 spaces. He'd parked like too far back from the red zone. And so, but not enough room to put an actual car. So the person who parked behind them wrote a note and left it, like clearly left a note on their car that said, "You have parked thoughtlessly. Please do a better job next time." I found this because I saw that note when I parked in that space after they pulled away, and then later on, the car in front was gone, and that driver apparently had put that note back on my windshield and written on it "pig" in all caps.
Whoa!
So I was like, I had nothing to do with this.
That maybe a pig wrote it.
I guess so, yeah.
So it's all it can write.
But I don't like, I feel like I probably wrote a passive aggressive note when I was like living with roommates when I was like 19.
Yeah.
And then you learn very early on, it's like, oh, actually, it's probably better just to have a conversation with somebody.
Right.
You know?
If I'm going to write a note, I'm not going to be snarky about it. Like, because it's like, sure, a note can be useful for like communicating information or passing, hey, wanted to chat about something, here's my number, or something like that. But
hey, I dinged your car, I have to go, but like,
yeah, but I just couldn't, like, these guys were like 40 plus.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is unbelievable to me. But then, of course, the way my brain works is like, I'm actually going to be a model citizen now, and I'm going to judge them for every infraction they make. But then they proceeded to like call our property management company. I would get these like secondhand messages from our property management company. They'd be like, hey, this isn't a complaint, but they said XYZ. And I'm like, wow, their threshold for complaining about stuff is so low, because I could have a very long complaint thing that I send about them, but I just don't care that much.
It's not what I think some people, maybe this is a good example of it. I think some people are operating with different currency, because I think some people like doing it. So they're not swallowing the discomfort and cringe of leaving a message. Like if I think about leaving a message like that, it's so incredibly humiliating that no matter how much I might want to do it, I'm just like, I'm inoculated against it. I can't. I would blow my fucking head off. But some people for sure like the experience. It's like, I got them with my letter.
A little bit,
like,
and I'm not going to
nice.
say it was like internalized racism, but it reminds me of how like black athletes are treated held to a different standard when they like show emotion or something like that. Because I was like, is this really like what you're like? I'm just relitigating all of these like these transgressions that were made.
This is not house, so you can say the address.
Oh yeah, I will. And it was 1-2.
It was 1-2.
That was 1-2 actually.
It was the 12th house.
I do think that also like I live in an apartment building. It's very loud, and I was talking about this earlier. Instead of complaining about how loud my neighbors are, I recognize that there are times I'm probably loud for them, and we're on different schedules, and that's just apartment living.
That's my thought.
And so instead of complaining to them about how loud they are, I have a fan and noise or white noise machines and stuff like that when I sleep. And that's how I deal with it. But if someone were to ever complain to me that I'm too loud, I would fucking become a nuclear bomb. I would be so pissed.
That's how I felt.
So your neighbor's complaining. It's like, we have to live here together,
right?
And you are pretending like this is your house.
It's like Jack Shepherd said, in his famous speech. He said, "If we can't live together, we're going to die alone."
Wow.
And we have to go back, and this is my dad, Christian.
Yeah, and this is my dad, Christian.
Remember the show?
And I'm seeing him everywhere on the island. I'm a doctor.
Look at my tattoo.
I'm a doctor. Look at my tattoo.
You'll probably be mad at me. The only episodes of Lost I've seen are the pilot and the series finale.
That honestly, I respect.
Save a lot of time.
Compress a lot of the work.
Well, the
pilot is great, and then I was lost with the series finale. But
yeah.
Well, you were lost.
Yeah, because you lost the middle of the show.
This seems like a short show. Well, they got off the island.
Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
What a hoot.
Where can people find you if they want to get more Nick Wiger in their life?
Oh, I got a couple podcasts. Doughboys, a podcast about chain restaurants. It's me and my co-host Mike Mitchell. Been doing it for a decade now, which is wild. But yeah, we review a different fast food restaurant every week with a fun guest. And
Patreon?
For that. I also have a video game podcast called Get Played with my friends Heather Ann Campbell and Matt Adika. You can find them both wherever you listen to things.
Hell yeah.
You're also you're a musician. You created the Monster Fuck.
Yes, I did create the Monster Fuck. Well, that was actually the brainchild of Leo Carpazzi.
Friend of yours. Close friends of yours.
An associate.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There was a moment where there was a kid's Halloween party and did you see this?
Someone sent me this clip, and I've seen two versions of it. One was a kid's Halloween party. Another was in a school where they were like, and both times it was like we accidentally played. The teacher forgot to get the clean version of the Monster Mash. So and they played by the Monster Fuck, which is the dumbest bit I've ever done that somehow has resonated for many years.
Pretty foundational. Me and Anastasia kind of initially connected over a lot of like early Earwolf shows in general.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reference points has definitely been Monster Fuck and Hollywood Handbook. I think those are the two connective tissue points.
Yeah.
God bless.
We were early fans, and when I met Jarvis, he was like, there's a guy that I work with who knows you from calling into Hollywood Handbook.
And literally all I said was your first name. And then Jordan said, I just came to this country. I only know one Anastasia.
Anastasia in San Francisco, what are the odds?
And you were right.
Those were correct.
You were right. It was me.
A Greek person in California? I mean, is that even allowed?
Thanks, Nick, so much for joining us. We end every episode of Sad Boys with a particular phrase. We love you.
And we're sorry.
Boom.
We
did it.
Killed.
Podcast terminated. If you want more Sad Boys this week, we have a new episode of Sad Boyz Nightz over on our Patreon at patreon.com/sadboys, where we're talking about stuff. We talk about the Oscar nominations. We talk about the Beckham children.
Somehow we got there. Yeah.
We got there. We have a special guest, which is this beautiful dog, Ollie. He's a sleepy boy.
He snores a little on mic.
And get into it or don't. I mean, it's just content at the end of the day.
$5 of your discretionary
$5 of your
gets you a little bit of a snoring dog.
A little bit of a snoring dog and an awake dog.
And an awake dog.
Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl. How's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, all you want it.
Girl, too rich for me.